All right, well, party started. Thank you everyone for joining our presentation today. So we'll get started by welcoming you back to our continuing webinar series. And today we're going to discuss the RMS Event Management Module and how it can assist with all the events and functions that are hosted by your property. And before we get into our event management presentation, let's do a quick introduction. Starting with myself, my name is Josh Kennedy, and I'm Senior Configuration Specialist here at RMS. And I work within the Learning Services and Implementation team. I've been at RMS for almost 10 years, and today I'm joined by another team member of mine from the Learning Services team. His name is Arturo. How are you doing today, Arturo?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I'm Arturo, a Senior Trainer Specialist here in RMS. Appreciate you all to join us today webinar, where we're going to dive into the Event Management Module. But hey, Josh, could you give us everyone a quick overview of what we will be covering in this Event Management Module today?
Yeah, I'd love to. Let's look at some of those areas that we'll touch on today. We will start by using this PowerPoint presentation to review some of the benefits and features of the Event Management Module. Since we know that all of the establishments are unique at each of your properties, the Event Management Module allows your property to customize it to suit your needs. We're going to go ahead and take a look at RMS and review how you can enable the Event Management Module before we move into the configuration, operations, and reporting available. And a little bit towards the end, we're going to go ahead and review how you can get assistance with the Event Management Module and hopefully even have time to answer some of your audience questions. And Arturo, could you go ahead and get us started by reviewing some of the Event Management Module benefits?
Absolutely. This slide really highlights some of the key benefits of the Event Management Module. First off, it helps your property to save both time and money by keeping the event reservations right with the same system as you load in reservations. This integration allows for more seamless billing and smoother operations. The module customization options are another huge pick, leading to you tailor to fit your property specific needs. This means better customer satisfaction and smoother communications with your event staff. And ultimately, with the event management module, your property can keep driving revenue growth while using an optimization when you track your management and events. Hey, Josh, could you walk us through some of the cool features the RMS Event Management Module offers?
Of course. As mentioned earlier, the Event Management Module allows you to tailor the system to meet your property needs. You'll be able to create your own event types within the system that will help differentiate one event from another. You'll be able to add in customized event layouts that will help your staff configure the event appropriately. You'll be able to add in your own banquet menu, as well as create specific tasks for your property and associate them to service providers. And since the event management module is flexible enough to work within many establishment types, you can utilize the event schedules, orders, and event reservations to go ahead and create your events and help your staff seamlessly throw that event. Arturo mentioned about the event reservation residing in the same system as your lodging reservation. That assists you with the multiple different billing options at your disposal with the module so that you can handle both group as well as single event scenarios as required.
Hey, Josh, what sort of event types have you seen in your time using the Event Management Module?
Oh, great question, Arturo. There are a lot of different event types that we've seen, but the module itself, you can customize and create as many as that you like. You can think of these event types as a specific function that your property may host. These event types help your property differentiate one event from another. On the screen here, you'll see some of those common ones that we often see: the weddings, the conferences, the banquet dinners. All of that can be added in, but you can also add in whatever you need to. Pretty much the possibilities are endless, much like the slide says. And the idea is that these event types get selected when you're creating your event reservations, and they're going to appear in your event management reports, like the event order or the schedule, those that you might disseminate to the staff or maybe your clients. Before we jump into RMS, let's do a quick little audience poll. We've got about 30 of you on the call today. So using that raise hand icon in Teams, how many of you offer an event or function space that's currently rented by the day or by the hour? All right, well, quite a few in attendance today, so that's good. You came to the right place. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop over to RMS and continue our webinar. Arturo, did you want to show us how the event management module can be enabled?
Yes, absolutely. I will happy to show you how. We'll start navigating to the module market in the menu. From there, we will search for the event management. If it's not already activated, we can locate it on the available ones. Then activate it, agree with the terms and conditions, and with just a few clicks, you will get the module activated. Once the module is activated, we can move forward to the configuration. So let's navigate to the menu. Let's go under Setup and Event Management. Now let's dive into the event order footer. The event order footer is like a little summary that gets attached to each event. It includes all the essential details guests need to know, like the terms and conditions again, cancellation policies, and any important rules for the event. It is a really great way to make sure everyone involved in this event is on the same page and know what they need to expect. Let's begin to give a name to our event footer. And in this section, you can type or paste any important details you want to include on the event footer, like again, the terms and conditions or special event information. Name more footers. If you need additional footers, just click on Add. Fill all the information we reviewed before. And after you're done, just click and Save and Exit. Your footers now are ready to be used and printed for the event. But let's hand over to Josh, who's going to talk about the next part of the configuration.
Thanks, Arturo. That next area of the configuration for this event management module is going to be the event types. And we talked about it earlier, but the event types are created to help differentiate the properties you're hosting. We talked about a few examples earlier, weddings, for example, but you can see you can add as many as you'd like in here by simply giving it a name that's unique. And again, this is going to be selected on those event reservations, and it's going to go ahead and help you differentiate what type of events you're hosting. Hopefully that helps the staff a little bit. You can go ahead and add as many as you want, clicking the plus button and just giving it a unique name. After we've added in as many different event types as we require, which you can always add to or subtract down the road, we're going to talk about the layouts. The event layouts are pretty important because this is going to be how the function space is going to need to be configured. And we allow you to customize these event layouts that are utilized at your property. This one here for banquet, you can see it's given a name as well as a description. The description is going to help the staff with that room configuration, including chair, table, maybe food and beverage, or dance floor staging sort of stuff. And the idea is these event layouts, they're going to get added to tasks on these event reservations so that it will print on the reports so that your staff know how to appropriately configure the event. If you need to, you can add as many as you would like here by simply clicking the plus button, giving it a layout name as well as a description. And if you need to, these layouts can be associated to a single property or multiple properties if you're part of a multi-property database, depending on how you set up your events. We're going to go ahead and skip over master tasks, and we're going to jump to the menu, which we talked about in the presentation, this being kind of your banquet menus. And the idea is that you can utilize this section to easily create those banquet menu items that you can assign to the event tasks when you're creating them. You can edit any of these that are currently listed here, like our champagne services. That'll give it a description. This will be kind of marketing spin on what this menu item is, as well as the details to that menu itself. And any notes that are applicable to the staff, maybe it's going to be kitchen or maybe notes for the banquet staff themselves, you can add those in here. The idea is that if you needed these notes to print in bold, you can also use the print and highlight option. The nice part about these menus or those layouts is on the day of the event or on the event itself, you can actually customize the text or the menu per event. This just helps serve as a template to go ahead and get that banquet menu item into the event task with as much ease as possible. Now that we know how to save the menus, there's one last area we'll look at before we look at the master tasks. Arturo, could you show us around the service providers and how those are configured?
All right, let's dive into the service providers. Let's take, for example, a dreamscape wedding photography. Now, the service providers are key partners in the event management. They help you out with equipment or services, whether they are from outside companies or internal teams. Meaning in the RMS make it super easy to handle everything from booking to billing. Let's go ahead and select event type as event management. Give it a name and fill all the contact information for number and email address for this service provider. Let's move to the contacts. You can add important contact information for managing this event, like for numbers, emails, or all the information to contact these service providers. We can add notes, important notes as memo for the service providers, like a scheduling of the wedding photographer. When you're done, you can go ahead and save and exit. And you can add as many as you want, clicking in the plus sign and add all the information.
That's great, Arturo. How do you put all these configuration steps that we put together into one thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Then we're going to jump now to the master task. Master tasks are basically all the activities an event, like a run sheet, is something that need to happen during the event. And you can make it as detailed as you want or simple as you need it. You can also create as many tasks as you need. But let's walk through to this specific one. We're going to go ahead and give a name to our task. You can get a detail, like a photographer need to capture the pre-ceremony moments, the ceremony and the reception. In here, the number of attendees can be leave blank as a standard, and it can be modified based on the event specifics. But don't worry, these can be updated later when we're going to review our event reservations. Let's choose when this task is going to start, for example, from the first day of the event, and the duration. We can mark it as a run sheet if this is going to be for internal communication for staff or coordinators. Let's see who is assigned to handle this task, like the photographer company. And if you need it, you can assign it more service providers. If this task has additional charges for the guest, like a photography fees, we will see it on the extras. And we can review one of them. The budget is the estimated cost when you're planning the event, like a catering or equipment. And the actual is the final cost updated when the event is warmed up and the real expenses are known. If this event is handled with drinks or food, we can select a menu. But just like a reminder, all the menus need to be created to show up in this list. Once everything is set, let's go ahead and save and exit. As you can see, master tasks are super flexible, and you can get it as detailed or simple as you like. Now that we're set up our event components, let's move to how to create an actual reservation.
That sounds great, Arturo. Let's do that. So let's start by looking at how you can create an event reservation. Making an event reservation is pretty similar to making a daily or nightly reservation, just with a few additional steps. The best screen to create those event reservations is going to be your quick quote screen. You can find it in the left-hand side menu, quick quote, or if you have the icon header row, you can use the quotation mark icon at the top. And if you're part of a multi-property database, you'll see this screen. We'll use the resort and spa property. And you can see within the reservation details on the left-hand side of this screen, this is already set up for an event reservation. We have event start, event finish, along with the standard arrive depart fields. And we have some more event specific fields like attendees, coordinator, and event type. The idea here is you can use the quick quote screens to create your event reservations or create your nightly accommodation reservations. The key is going to be switching this reservation type from event to accommodation, and you can toggle between the two to use the same screen to create both types of reservations. For the essence of time, we've already created an event reservation, and we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at that one and review those event details a little bit further. Can you pull up reservation number 712, Arturo?
Of course, let's go ahead and open that reservation.
All right, wonderful. You can see it looks very similar to a standard nightly reservation. Guest details on the left, reservation details in the middle, and account details on the right. The main difference will be seen within the reservation details. And you'll have these event fields that will be populated intertwined within the standard accommodation fields, like the event start and finish. And these are going to need to reside within the arrival and departure time. Similar to renting a room or a site, the arrival and departure time will go ahead and hold this rentable area for that duration of time, so it can't be rented by anyone else. But the event itself can happen anytime within it. Moving down, we'll have the event type. These are going to populate based off your pre-configured event types, much like we talked about earlier. This will be a wedding event type, and we get to give the event a name. And we have a name for this wedding, and this event name will populate at the top of all of our event reports. The next field down is the attendees field. Much like you would guess, this is the number of people attending the event. This will be helpful because this will pre-populate some of the fields as we go through and add in event tasks here in a little bit. Underneath the attendees, we have Coordinator 1 and Coordinator 2. You can think of Coordinator 1 as the staff member that's responsible for this event reservation, while Coordinator 2 is going to be that staff member that will be responsible for the event on the day in which it occurs. It can be the same or different, as you can see here. And beneath those coordinators, we'll have the rentable type and rentable area. In this case, they'll be occupying the Grand Banquet Hall number 3. And for the rate type, we've assigned to them an event rate. The nice part about assigning a rate type and configuring rates against all of these rentable event spaces is that you can charge room rental, if that's something that you do, easily, because it's going to pre-populate the account details on the right. Just like an overnight reservation might, you'll have a base rate, which will be the amount before tax, along with the tax leading into your total rate. You can obviously adjust this on a reservation by reservation basis if you would like, but this will go ahead and only be the room rental portion. This will not contain any of the event charges. To create all of those event charges and do everything there with this event, we'll actually use the event management screen, which is an icon that looks like a calendar with a square, in case you haven't seen that before. And this will allow you to go through and create the events on this specific reservation. And in this case, we have a few already configured, and these will appear in chronological order based off the task that's assigned to it. Some of them will have a certain number of packs, number of people, the attendees. Some of them will be assigned to a service provider. And some of them may even have a specific layout required, like the banquet layout for a room setup. And if you see, we have one that has a menu, the dinner service. And some of them may even have charges associated to them. The extras column there allows us to go ahead and see any of these tasks that carry a charge to the client. And we also get to see whether or not these tasks are internal or external tasks. Run sheet, yes, those would be more internal. We don't necessarily always want the client to see those, while run sheet no means those are perfectly fine for the client to see on all reports. Now, if we've determined that we've forgotten to put a task onto this event, we can easily add one through the task menu at the top. Yep, and we'll click the add task button. And let's say we have forgotten to charge the guest for the wedding photography, like we looked at earlier. We'll find the wedding photography task, and we'll notice that when we select the task, the details will pre-populate based off of the configuration of that task already. Doesn't mean that you can't change it, but sometimes it does help to have something as a template so that the staff doesn't have to recreate this with every event. If you'd like those details to appear in bold when printing those reports, there is the print and highlight option as well. You have the packs that'll fill in with the number of attendees. If it's not applicable, you're always welcome to change this. If it doesn't have a requirement for a number of people, you can just remove it. It is not a mandatory field. The rental number will pre-populate. As you can see, the layout will also pre-populate based off of the configuration selected. If you don't have one selected, the idea here is you can select one at this point in time. You can also update or leave the menu as is based off of the predefined menu from the original configuration. And if this was a task that we wanted to hide from the guest or the client, we can mark it as a run sheet only. Since we are charging them for this, we'll make sure that they can see this and it's visible, and so that they know that this task has a start time of, let's say, 2 p.m., since that's when the wedding photography is supposed to begin. And we expect it to be wrapped up by about 4 p.m. on the same day. And since I'm the one requesting it, we'll go ahead and put myself, JK, as the requester. And down the road, once the wedding photography task has been completed, another staff member can come in and mark this task as completed. Why don't we go ahead and save this task, Arturo, and then we'll jump into that left-hand side menu, starting with the service provider. If we have already assigned a service provider for this task at the time we configured the master task, it will automatically be associated. If it's going to change for this event, this is your opportunity to alter it or edit it as needed. The extras will be where the charges will reside, much like Arturo mentioned, and these again will pre-populate based off of the task configuration earlier. We're welcome to edit these. If we edit the ceremony and reception photography coverage, you can see that we're able to add in a note. This note can appear on reports if we choose to, and if needed, we can have that note print in bold. We'll take a look at how those extra or sundry notes appear in a minute. If we need to, we can update the budget. This is going to be the expected cost to the property as well as the expected charge to the client. This doesn't mean that this is what it will actually be, because that column to the right, actual, will be where the charges will actually stem from when we go ahead and charge them for the event. If you need to edit this, you have the opportunity to edit this on the event, but we can go ahead and save this task. And if we take a look at the wedding day photography package, same principle here. We can add in a note, print it and highlight, and we can update those budget numbers. The quantity, the cost, and the charge numbers can also be edited as required. Down the road, we'll look at the actual and make sure that that's all good for the time of the event in case we post something incorrectly. Now that we've created this task, why don't we save and exit? And we know how to create a task on the event. And you can see it sandwiched right there in the middle, wedding photography. Now that we know how to add those tasks on these events, Arturo, what sort of event report options are available?
Yeah, well, let's dive into the reports. We're going to start with the event order. And this document outlined all the tasks and important details that can be shared with the main contact for the event. We can generate this, selecting including all the details. If this task is marked as a run sheet, you can choose to include it here. This will be for internal, meaning the communication with the staff or event coordinators. And the sundry charge notes. If you have notes, especially for those charges, like keep the champagne cool, that's where we need to add those notes. We can also include the menu description. We can include full menu and include menu notes. The rental type or the rental number will be pre-selected. And in the bottom is where we're going to select our order footer, where this can be edited before we bill. Again, here is going to go all the communications like terms and conditions, cancellations, or anything relevant to this event. Let's go ahead and bill. After all, select all the options, and after we bill, we're going to see an event summary. This will show the date and time and the task and with any associated charges. Let's go ahead and scroll down where we're going to see the menu and the menu notes. And to the end is where we're going to see our event footer. Again, the event order will give you detailed rundown, including dates, timelines, caterer needs, and all other vital details for running your event smoothly. Just keep in mind, any master task where the run sheet only was selected, it won't appear on this report. Next up is going to be our event schedule. You can select it as a date and time, service provider, or task grouping. We can include all the task details, include all the internal notes like a run sheets. You can include a layout or description. You can include all the menu description, the full menu, and any menu notes. And even so, you can show the menus on a separate page. You will select your property from the multi-property, and as you see, the rental number will be pre-selected. And let's go ahead and build. As you see, this is going to be a summary where you're going to have the event summary here, coordinators, and the date and time for each task. And chronological order, where we're going to have a menu and all the tasks. Josh, there's another couple reports we should show and talk about it. Can you share more about those event management report options?
Of course, Arturo. Let's look at a couple others before we look at the operations. Starting with the service provider memo. So I saw that we have a couple service providers on this specific event. So this is going to allow you to notify those vendors of the tasks assigned to them. We can select a particular service provider like the wedding photography, and we can go ahead and select one of those contacts that we created against that photography service provider. After we've gone through and selected the contact, we can go ahead and set up what we want to include in this memo. This can include task details, tasks that are marked as run sheet only, having a new page if you wanted, if this was a multiple date event, more than one day. And if there were layouts that were associated to the tasks, the layout description might be useful, as well as including the menu details. This would be applicable for any of those tasks that have a menu assignment, and this service provider or this vendor needs to be aware of them. If you need to, you can go through and, much like Arturo talked about, add or remove any of those areas as required. As we go through and we see the rental number that's already been pre-selected, beneath it though, it will be the memo. Arturo talked about the memo earlier in the configuration for this provider. You can select one of those memos, and then this is your opportunity to edit it. Because this event may not be the same as the last event, you can add in unique notes for this event that will go ahead and print when we either email this report to Sarah or we build it. So go ahead and build it, Arturo, so we can see where this memo appears. Perfect. You'll see that memo in the upper left-hand corner. You'll get the event summary on all the coordinators. And beneath it, we're going to go ahead and have information on the tasks assigned to that vendor, only that vendor, right? As well as the time and the date in which those need to take place. So that's a good one if we need to go ahead and notify the service providers of tasks assigned to them for events. Another one that we might take a look at is going to be the task list report. And this one might be best to display those tasks in chronological order. And this isn't going to create any sort of agreements or client signature sections like your event order might, but it does allow us to group it. In this case, we'll do it by date and time, and we can go ahead and do it by service provider if needed. But task details as well as run sheet only options are here as well, but we don't have all those other options like we saw on the service provider or the event order report. So let's just go ahead and build this and see what we get. Similar, right? We've got event information at the top, and then beneath it, all of those tasks that are assigned to this event and the time of the day in which they need to occur, as well as service provider, as well as location. So this can be utilized by the staff internally, or if needed, you can provide this to the client as well. There's no pricing or anything on here. So now that we know some of those different reports to look at prior to the event, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going to occur on the day of the event. And the main thing here that we'll take a look at is making sure that the guest gets charged the appropriate amount for their event. And any of these tasks that have additional charges or extra charges, we can go ahead and send over using the icon transfer extras to account. Yep. And that'll allow us to send over these charges to the reservation account, either as one single event transaction, one line item on the account, or individual transactions. We'll take a look at that one first. This is going to detail every single extra charge that's assigned to these different tasks. Go ahead and process that. We'll get confirmation that's what we want to do. And we can go ahead and exit from this event management screen, and we can move into the reservation folio. Within the folio, you can see it currently has a balance of $37,620. And if we look into it, we can see the individual event charges, the event number, the name of the event, along with the extra charges. The quantity, if there is more than one, as well can be seen there. So not too difficult to post those charges over once you have the tasks created for the event.
Yeah, but I have a question, Josh. What if I make a mistake and I put the wrong amount or the wrong quantity of people?
Well, the easiest way would probably be to stay right here in the account to begin with. And the first thing that we're going to need to do is void all of these charges. And we're going to use the corrections menu, and we're going to do void multiple charges. We're going to void all of the charges, even if we've made the mistake on just one of the postings. We'll select a reason, and we'll process that particular void. Once we have a clean account here, we can exit from the account, and we can return to the event management window. And here we can go ahead and find the task that is charging incorrectly. Let's take a look at the dinner service task. That one, for example, is set up for 200. Let's just say it was for 220 people. We can update the packs here on the task details, and we can take a look at the extras. The extras is going to be where the charge resides, so we need to edit this section as well by updating the actual to 220. Our budget remains the same. We only expected 200, but 220 showed up. And we'll go ahead and we'll save and exit. And we'll save and exit the dinner service task. And now that we've updated the task count, we can go ahead and repost those or retransfer those charges. This time, just to see something different, we're going to do the one event transaction so that you can see what it looks like instead of doing it as an individual transaction option. Go ahead and process that, confirm, and we'll return to the reservation folio. And you can see within the folio, it does look like it's a little bit higher than that 37,000 number due to the increased person count on that dinner service. But since we did it as one event transaction, we're just going to see a lump sum number and the sales tax based off of any of those charges that had tax implications. So now that we know how to post as well as correct and repost, Arturo, are there any reports that the management team can use to figure out how successful this event is?
Yeah, let's go back to the event management. Now let's go back to reports. And yes, there is a couple really good reports to your team to measure how well we're doing with the event. We're going to start with the PL statement of profit and loss. This report gives you a summary of those events' revenue, costs, and expenses. It's based on the cost you've been set it up for those tasks and charges. And a quick note, the PL report will only show those tasks have charges. So make sure to configure those correctly in your property. Next, we have the operational cost report. This report, it has a breakdown of the cost of the property which incur on the event. You can choose either between budget or actual figures. Depending your configuration, and here's where you're going to see the summary, the event information with coordinators, task, any sundry charges, the amounts and quantities, the amount of charges, and numbers of attendees. And that will warm up our live presentation on the event management module. Let's jump back into the slide and finish this webinar.
That's great, Arturo. How do I get help with the event management module?
Great. Getting help with the event management module is super easy. Here's how. For those who want more in-depth and review our training sessions, simply contact your account manager. If you look for help in enabling the management module, your account manager can be assisted with that as well. And there is a lot of sources and tutorials available right in the RMS University platform. And also check our articles in the Help Center for quick answer and common questions. As you can see, we got plenty of options to ensure you are set up for success.
Wonderful, Arturo. Well, with the limited remaining time today, let's go ahead and see if anyone in the audience has any questions. So within the chat option of the Teams meeting, go ahead and add in any questions you might have, and we'll do our best to answer them. I do have one question on when the event charges should be transferred to the account. Well, ideally, this would probably be done on the day of the event. The accounting date that you'll see tied to the event charges is going to be tied to the day in which you transfer those charges from that event management screen. So if you end up sending over those charges prior to the event, the accounting date would be prior to the event date. If you awaited its conclusion on the day of the event, you would have the accounting date reflect the true date of the event. Hopefully that helps. The function is currently available. It is an additional module that you'll have to enable. And we do have, like Arturo mentioned, a lot of information in the Help Center, as well as a brand new couple of courses on the event management module configuration, operations, and reporting. So you can chat with your account manager on that if you need any help there. Yes, the rental rate amount. Is that what you mean there, Christine, I think, for the rental amount being 0? Yeah, you can have any amount if you don't charge room rental rate. If you decide to, you can always add that into the task configuration as well. It's pretty versatile in that regard. But yeah, you don't have to charge your room rental. We just use that as our use case example. Enterprise level with the event management module. I want to say that it's across the enterprise, but since a lot of the areas are property specific, we'll have to check with you, Peter, and confirm on that. If there are only 1 or 2 properties out of maybe the handful you might offer that will need the event management module, we can make sure that we get that squared away and get you the answer on that one. The event order or reports are kind of what they are within the system. There isn't at this juncture options to say I want event order A or B if you like something different than what is currently there. So as of right now, it would just be those system related reports that we kind of reviewed today. Well, if there are any other questions, we do have our support team that can answer some of those questions. And we do have RMS University if you would like some more information on it as well. The event management module is going to be something that you can restrict based off security profile. So it's up to you if you want your front office staff to have access to creating the event reservations or things like that. So thank you for joining us today. Since we know everyone's time is valuable, we'll let you go. And we'll get the recording out to everyone that registered for this webinar out to you shortly. And if you have any questions, support, help center, RMS University, account manager, take your pick, and we're more than happy to help you out a little bit further. Hope everyone has a great day, and hopefully we'll see you next time.